If you're an attorney in the pursuit of a successful law practice, fulfilling career, and the life of your dreams, this podcast has it all. Behind the Bench gives you great tools to overcome the unique challenges you face every day as a law firm owner. Welcome to Behind the Bench podcast with your host, Josh Konigsberg, author, partner, and co-founder of Law Firm Marketing Pros and lifelong entrepreneur.
Josh Konigsberg back with another exciting episode of Behind the Bench podcast. Super excited today to introduce my guest and personal friend of mine, Greg McCollum. Greg is a criminal defense attorney based in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Greg, thanks for joining me today. If you could just take a quick moment and tell us a little bit about your background.
Thank you, Josh. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. I own a criminal defense law firm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina called Complete Legal Defense Team. At the Complete Legal Defense Team, we defend the accused who have a lot to lose. Most of our clients have never been arrested before. I've been a criminal lawyer for over 30 years and was formerly a prosecutor, formerly a DUI prosecutor, and then a private practice lawyer. Now I'm the owner of a criminal defense law firm.
That's great. So you've not only transitioned the practice to be a 7-figure practice, but you're also now moving into helping other law firm owners who are struggling to grow into a coaching program called Prosper at Law. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to do that and tell us a little bit more about Prosper at Law?
The Prosper at Law was an idea that I had to do active coaching and masterminds and to focus on criminal defense. I was talking to my friend Brianna Williams about this, and she has a very similar practice to mine. She owns a law firm called Indigo Family Law located in the Myrtle Beach area. And we decided together to work together to focus our coaching on criminal defense lawyers and family court lawyers. We think that's really an underserved kind of part of the market. I've done a lot of coaching with other coaches. I've done mindset coaching with other coaches. And what I found is that the personal injury area or the personal injury space, there are a lot of resources for that. There's a lot of coaching. There's a lot of things you can learn, a lot of fantastic, successful people you can learn from. I don't really see that in criminal defense and really don't see it with family law. So Brandon, I think that's a really underserved market and something that we both know about. And so we can really help people improve their life, grow their law firm, turn their hectic solo law practice into a business that serves them and basically just gives them a better life, gives them more income, gives them more free time, just makes their life better overall.
So you've identified an opportunity gap in the market within the niche of criminal defense and family law that needs to be served. And you had mentioned to me in previous conversations about the size of law firms and the percent of the market that actually doesn't even achieve $500,000 a year in fee income for the practice. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was just referring to some ABA studies, American Bar Association. I think that the numbers roughly are there are 1.3 million lawyers in the United States. Of those, something like 66% of solos earn less than $200,000 income. I'm assuming it's gross income. And then another half of those are under 100. So you have a situation where people got the education, got the degree, went through all the stringent requirements to be a lawyer, and now they have a hectic kind of stressful life where they're also broke. And I think that's I don't think it should be like that. I think anybody who has a law degree, who's ethical and goes to work, should be able to figure out or learn how to make that work for them so that they have more free time, they have a higher income, and they just have more peace of mind.
So that sounds like more of an altruistic approach to helping. So tell us a little bit about the model for Prosper Law. I'm sure that you have tens of thousands of potential clients out there. So if we could niche down a little bit more, like who would be your ideal client? And I'm sure that, Prosper Law is also a startup. Is that correct?
Yeah, Prosper Law is a startup. We're in the process right now of launching our initial live quarterly LEAP meeting. And that's something that we're trying to do toward the end of this year. The model for it is that there are two kinds of coaching well, there's more than two, but there's some coaching programs that everything you do is virtual, and they're very helpful, and they have products and digital products and things you can learn and do. But there are also some programs that meet a set number of times, either 3 or 4 times per year. That was my experience. I was in a coaching program called How to Manage a Small Law Firm, and we met 4 times a year over the weekend for 2 days, day and a half, 2 days. And that was so experiential that it really helped me change my practice, helped me change my life, is to be immersed in that. So one of our main focuses, or our model, is that we're going to have those quarterly meetings. We call them live quarterly leaps, where you come to it, you're immersed with other lawyers, you're learning things that you need to know. And so you start making rapid progress, and you're able to leap forward and take your law firm to a higher level, to another level. And probably over the course of, say, 1.5 to 3 years, probably double your law firm and maybe double it again. It depends on where you're placed. I saw that in my coaching program. Some people were growing at 100% a year. Some people were growing at 10% a year. It depends on the circumstance, but also depends on how much the person buys in and gets to work and does the things that need to be done.
So there obviously is unique challenges, but let me come back to, and I want to talk about that, unique challenges for smaller solo practitioners. But what's your differentiator? What's your USP with all the different coaching programs that I see out there, and I see a lot of them? What is your USP at Prosper Law?
It's mostly that in terms of criminal defense and family law, I built the law firm in the area of criminal defense, and I would say against all odds, but against all advice. No one ever said that was a good idea. Everyone told me I should have other practice areas. I should do different things. Branna built the family law practice into a law firm as well. So you have marketing, you have financial controls, you have personnel policies, and you have everything that you need to have, including sales and those things. So the differentiator is that it's an immersive program focusing on those two small practice areas. We're not everything to everybody. We're really focusing on those areas. And then I have the hands-on experience. Branna has the hands-on experience. And one of my mentors said, don't ask me how I did it. Don't ask me how I built a multi-million-dollar business. Ask me how I would do it again, because you don't want to make all the mistakes that I've made. You don't want to make the mistakes that I've made. You don't want to make the mistakes that Branna made. So from having done that, because this has been about a 10-year journey for me, I started transitioning and transforming my law practice into a law firm in 2013. It's now 2023. So I know where the roadblocks are. I know where the bumps are in the road. I know how stressful it can be, but also know how to get somebody through that and help them also with the mindset of what to just know what they're doing and what they need to know, but also to believe in themselves and believe it's possible. That's why the live meetings, I think, are so valuable, because you get in a room with a bunch of people and they're living proof that it can be done, because they're just like you and me, and they're doing it and they know how to do it. And so we'll be able to teach people those things, which are just simply techniques and business techniques that people use all over the world in other businesses. The legal field is just not business oriented. It's a profession, and people go into it thinking that somehow the world's just going to take care of them. And what I see and what I experience in my own life is that's just not true.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is the real differentiator is not only have you niched into two specific types of law, but both of you have done it, versus some of the other coaching groups that I see where the people running the group may be an attorney, may not be an attorney, but in any case, I've not seen, with the exception of one, whereby the attorney, whereby the group owner actually did it successfully themselves. And that to me is a significant differentiator between you and everybody else. Is that what you've seen as well?
I think that there's a lot of that, but some of the programs that I've participated in with non-lawyers were very, very good. And the fact that the person wasn't a lawyer really wasn't that big of a limitation. I've also been in groups with people who were lawyers or that were no longer practicing, and they certainly had, those qualities because they had practiced law and knew what it was like. But I do think that when someone's looking at a coaching program, you always feel more comfortable, or you like it better. You're more confident when you're talking to somebody who's done it. When somebody that's built a law firm and sold it, or somebody's built a law firm that can run pretty much on its own, you have confidence that that person knows what he or she's talking about. That's something that I heard all the time when I was in other coaching programs. It's like, there's no reason to listen to that person. That person hasn't done it. He's just teaching. My response, though, was, it was growing 40, 50% a year. What difference does it make whether or not he did it himself if we're growing 50% a year and other people are doing as well? It's working. If it works, it works. But I think that it does give us a unique position and a perspective in terms of specific problems. For instance, like intake, it's very different in criminal defense and family law versus personal injury. They're just not the same. And the way that money comes in and the way the court calendar works, it's just a very different business model. And I found in the personal injury groups that I was in, they were very good, but they were talking about things that just did not apply to me. And there were things that did apply to me that they didn't know the answer for because it wasn't part of their life.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. So what are the key challenges that solo practitioners and small law firm owners in the industry are specific to family law, criminal defense law? What are the key challenges that those professionals are facing right now?
It's time management, failure to get help. In other words, to have either vendors or employees that take lesser tasks off of the lawyer. That's a huge one. The other thing is just being relevant. When I first started practicing, there was this idea that it was a profession and you could, if you're honorable and do a good job. It was this old saying that if you take care of the law for 10 years, the law will take care of you the rest of your life. And I think that was true in previous decades or certainly previous generations. That's gone away. The way people find legal services, where they look, who they ask, that's completely changed. And what I see with small practice lawyers is they're becoming extinct. I think there's a consolidation going on, and with just the ABA numbers, if you got 60-something% of lawyers that are making under $200,000, it's almost as if they should have chosen a different career path. A lot of lawyers are dedicated and they love practicing law, but the standards are so high for lawyers. There's no margin for error. The workload is hard to handle, and you have to you have to be perfect as a lawyer. You make a mistake, and it can be fatal to the client's case. So dealing with that while also trying to pay your bills on time and make enough money to do that is very challenging. And lawyers are spent. If you look at the legal profession, most lawyers who have been practicing, 20, 30 years are just looking for any way to get out of it and to do something else because it's taxing, it wears you out. And so people can figure out a way to make the law firm serve them. And so time management, people management, marketing and sales, those are the things that we would focus on and help people, get a leg up and be able to start seeing some progress. When you're a lawyer practicing by yourself, you're a technician, you're like a programmer, you're like a bricklayer, you're like a hairstylist. You want to make more money. How do you do that? You either bring in more clients or raise your prices. Most people don't believe they can raise their prices. Most people are fearful about that. And then when they bring in more clients, then the workload increases. So now they're working more and more hours, falling farther and further behind, more and more stress, more and more unhappy clients. So you have to figure that out so that you have the revenue to support a business and you know how to create a business and know what it takes to make a business run.
Right. So I'll summarize that by saying the only time you're a lawyer is when you're in front of a client in the courtroom or in a deposition or mediation. The rest of the time you're a business owner. And the problem that I've seen after working with attorneys for 13 years is that you guys don't spend any time in law school and business. So some people are just, maybe they studied some business while they were in undergraduate, or some people are just naturally better at business than others, or someone in the family is an entrepreneur or business owner. Does that resonate? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, there's no, certainly the law school I went to, no one ever talked about business. And it's not even seen as a business, right? Seen as something else. Now, other professions like medical doctors and dentists, I mean, they figured this out decades ago. You have a medical practice. It's not run by a doctor. It's run by some business person. It's run by some woman with an MBA who's built a business and knows what he or she's doing. Lawyers are probably just now getting to that stage. We had a very prominent law firm in South Carolina, was one of what we call the chandelier firms, which was started by, a former governor. And they merged with another firm. They, quote, went out of business because that model, unfortunately, and it was a good law firm, is still there. The people are still there, but other people are running it. Other people own it and are doing that. So that's an example. That's the last, it was one of the most prominent firms in South Carolina, quote, went out of business because they didn't take care of the business aspects of the law firm.
Wow. Could you share a memorable success story or a challenge that you overcame in your career that holds a valuable lesson to others who may be considering coaching and now coaching with Prosper Law?
I think that the biggest obstacles that I had faced were what we call cash crunches. I remember coming back from my morning run. It was like, I think the day before payroll went out, and we just didn't have it. So we're scrambling. We're trying to get something in the door, calling, prospective clients back, trying to give somebody some kind of deal if you hire us now. And that happened many, many times, not just payroll, but just be in that situation where you're just desperate to bring in money. And that's a part of the growth curve. And that if someone can borrow the money to invest in themselves, that's good. In my situation, I wasn't credit worthy because I had a very, very large real estate portfolio that went down in 2007. So I wasn't in a situation where I could even get a credit line. Prior to that, I could write a check for $100,000 or $200,000 and it'd be good. But all that went away. So that's a huge challenge, because if you're not making enough money, now somebody's telling you, well, you need to spend money you don't have to set this in motion. And I think that's the biggest challenge. It was the biggest challenge for me. I went through several bookkeepers trying to find a good bookkeeper, which could be very difficult. And every bookkeeper I hired, the first thing they told me is, you need to stop all this coaching. You don't have the money for this coaching. You need to cut this out of the budget. Everybody I knew told me that. So that's the biggest thing that I overcame, is to say, I'm going to find the money because this is making a difference. When I started coaching in 2013, my revenue shot up probably 40%. Now I was spending money. I wasn't rich. I needed that money. But once I just learned a couple of things, and the most important thing is learning that I could do it, because I'd lived my entire professional career knowing that I couldn't do it. So I went from knowing I couldn't do it to believing that maybe I could. And that was the greatest transformation for me.
So that is just tremendous advice. So against the advice of your bookkeepers, multiple bookkeepers over time, you continue to basically invest in your business and yourself to get it to the next level. So how long do you think that transition took?
It's hard to answer that, because what's the next level? You watch, I was in real estate for a long time as an investor. I bought and flipped houses. I bought houses and rented houses. At one point, I had almost 50 houses that were on a rental program. And I'd watch the infomercial where they're saying, okay, you can be a millionaire in this period of time. And they show somebody in a private jet. Okay, so when I became a millionaire the first time, there were no private jets. It's just because you had $1 million in investments, it doesn't really change anything.
Right.
Nothing changes. So when did I get to that point? I'd say, probably never, because there's always growth. There's always challenges. Is there a part where you get to where you go, oh, I've got it, I don't want to do anything else? For most people, I don't think so, because, life is an experience, not a destination. And growing a business is an experience, not a destination. There's no magic rainbow with unicorns and gold where you just sit down and you're now content. It's like Jordan Peterson said, what do you want to do? And the person says, I want to lay on a tropical island and drink margaritas. And he says, that's not a goal. That's a vacation.
Not real life. That's so well said. And it's funny. Yeah. So the private jet, pulling up to the private jet in the Rolls Royce, just doesn't happen when you magically get to seven figures. Is that right? So,
because if you say, what's your profit margin? And so if your profit margin is 25%, then if you take it out of the business, and a lot of people don't, a lot of people aren't going to pay themselves all the profit. So now you're making $250,000. Okay. So you're in a marginal tax rate of, 37% or whatever it is. So, you're making money. Maybe you're taking home 175, 180,000 or something like that. That's good, especially if that's what your law firm grossed before you started transitioning. So you're better off because you're making that money and you're not doing all the labor yourself, and you're not staying up at night because your bank account's overdrawn and you missed a court deadline. But no, it's not. There may be something, with billionaires and people like that you see where they reach that point, but I don't believe that. They've got a lot to handle, and their days are filled with stuff because nothing runs itself.
And they have coaches, and it's almost fantasy in that, I have the Rolls Royce and I have the jet. Now I'm happy. That's not what's going to make you happy. It's the journey, and getting and the journey, reducing the stress on the journey. And we all have stresses, right? Reducing the stress on the journey is really some of what you're bringing to the table at Prosper Law. Let me go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it is and a lot of the things that helped me a lot with different coaches and different things I learned is just mindset, because from my definition, happiness is fleeting. It doesn't mean it's bad, but you're sitting there and you walk your dog and the birds are singing, or you look at your daughter in the morning eating her Pop-Tart and you realize you're happy. There's happiness there. There's joy there. But that's not in and of itself fulfilling. What's fulfilling is accomplishment, achieving something, making the world better, making your life better, helping and serving the people you care about. That's really my belief, is that there's joy and happiness that comes through growth and achievement. And it's just sometimes there's hard work, sometimes there's fun work. But I would not encourage somebody to join Prosper Law because they think in 2 years they're going to be sitting on the beach drinking margaritas and never have another problem. It's just not. I don't think that's just not reality to me.
It's a shift in mindset to understanding what the goals really are. And to me, the goals are ultimately having freedom and options that the financial success brings. That's how I see it. And that those options could include giving back to the community through various charitable organizations, or however one wants to define it. That's what I just happen to do. So let me transition to another question. What do you think are the most significant trends in the legal industry over the past year or two?
The most significant trends over the past year or two. I don't really look at trends on that kind of time frame. I think trends for me are much longer.
Okay.
And I think the clearly it's the thing that everyone knows is stating the obvious. The biggest trend and things that affected small law firm owners the most is the internet, the search engines, because before somebody could find you, now you're invisible. You can't find you. People have to pay to play, and so if you're not paying, usually Google, which is very ironic because they're a search engine, so you can find a restaurant or find a pair of pants. And so they take a search engine when they built the best one that's ever been built, and then they replace it with paid ads and pay to play. And so the theory was, or at least I thought the theory was, that people that were consistent and they had constancy and their business had gone for a long time and they had good reputations, that Google would be the internet word of mouth, would be the internet reputation. But everything's been gained now. So that's the biggest trend. I think the other thing is clearly video. 10 or 15 years ago, there was no video. Now people watch videos all day of strangers. Video delivers so much in terms of you can see someone, you can hear them speak, you can get a sense of who they are and what they are that you cannot get with words or even pictures. So video for people to get their message out, and also just accepting the fact that we're in this information age, social media, search engines, and you have to deal with it. You have to come plan so that it's serving you versus you're complaining about it.
That's so well said. And that's why we're in business, right? At Law Firm Marketing Pros, to help lawyers understand the ecosystem and how to leverage it to their advantage. And those that don't are going to be just left in the dark because they're not going to get found and seen. So, it's interesting. I just recently brought on a new client. In 2023, he did not have a website. How is that possible? Right? So what's the first thing a consumer does when they're considering doing business with you? They go online and check you out. So, but he woke up and realized that, hey, I need to have some type of presence on here, and we have him well on his way. Let me ask a quick question about, and by the way, I agree with you on the video production and where it's all trending, because that's the trend now. And we're going to be looking at some interfacing with AI with that moving forward. And we're starting to play with that as well. So, so let's just talk about good old fashioned networking and collaboration. So let's go to the other end. So do you have any tips for your potential clients at Prosper at Law for collaborating and building meaningful relationships? And can you share an example?
The networking, was something that was accepted or taught certainly when I was trying to grow my law practice. I was encouraged that, you need to go to events, you need to network. The thing with networking is that it's good, and it's also good to socialize and enjoy yourself and have a nice time. But networking is really, it's really one-to-one. You're reaching one person, or you go to an event and you meet 3 people that you connect with, which you're probably not going to connect with 3 people. You're probably going to connect with one. So how effective is that? It works. I think it's something that people should do. But the significant part of that too, though, is that when you're talking to somebody, you need to stick to the form questions. And I don't know if you're familiar with that acronym or not, but the form is, and there are different ones, but this was easy to remember. You talk to people, or you actually don't talk, you ask people about their family, their occupation, their recreation, or their mission. If you go into a room and you talk to somebody and ask them about one of those things, about their business or what do they enjoy doing, people love to talk about it. They light up. So then you're the person at the end of the night, the person saying that, yeah, that Greg, man, he's a great conversationalist. He's a great conversationalist, a great guy to talk to, because that person talked about themselves, their favorite subject, and explained what means something to them. And it also gives them an opportunity to be asked a question. Where most people want to tell them something, they don't want to listen to them. They don't want to learn about them. So I think that's a very important. If you're going to do marketing, if you're going to do networking, at least know what you're doing and do it in a way that will be effective. And you learn about people. It's not negative. You're better off knowing about them than telling them about yourself. So I'm a firm believer in that.
That to me is lockstep with the know, like, and trust concept, if you're familiar with that.
Right. People do business with those that they know, like, and trust.
And that's
being equal. Because if I know you, like you, and trust you, but your service or product is not as good as it needs to be, then the know, like, and trust, doesn't count anymore. Somebody would drive past this dry cleaner to go to the other one, even though they know, maybe they go to church with the person. So yeah, know, like, and trust. That's who we all want to do business with.
That's right. So do you have any additional nuggets of wisdom or insight that you can share with individuals that might think, meaning solo practitioners or small law firms, that think they might need some help, and maybe they haven't admitted that they needed help yet, but we know they're out there. We know that 60-something% of those people probably could use your help. What nugget of wisdom might you have?
I think the individual, they need to look inward, and they need to look at their life. They need to look at their family. They need to look at how they want to live, what they want to do, and see where it is in the space of their life. In other words, there are a lot of lawyers that I know that are my age or older or somewhere around there, and they've done okay. They've done pretty good by normal standards. They're doing well, and they don't want to put in the time and energy. They're ready to retire in 2 or 3 years. So if you're ready to retire in 2 or 3 years and you're comfortable at your income level and you're fine with that, then I don't think Prosper at Law is a good fit for those people. Probably other people, though, it also depends on, if you have a spouse and they really are opposed to it and they don't think it's a good idea, that could be a good reason not to do it, because you got to have support. You've got to have somebody backing you. If you've got somebody pulling you in the other direction and they don't want you to spend the time and money because they don't believe in it, that's a different issue. If you're in a relationship and the person that your significant other doesn't believe in you, doesn't believe there's greatness in you, doesn't believe you can achieve something, that's a completely different issue. Prosper Law, I don't think we can fix that. We can teach you about it, but we can't fix that. If you're a young lawyer and you had to open your own practice because you didn't have another opportunity, or if you're a lawyer that's been doing it 10 or 15 or even 20 years and you just haven't gotten where you need to get, you haven't gone where you need to go, and you've got 5 or 10 years to change your life, then I think those are people that could benefit and will benefit. And if you put a lot into it, you get a lot out of it. But also, if you just go and listen, it's impossible to go to a quality event and for a weekend or a few days and not come away with something valuable. You just hear things, people teach you things, and you see it. And even if you're not 100% all in, you're still going to improve your life. You just learn one technique, one thing to do that you're not doing, that can make all the difference.
So that leads me to 2 final questions for you, both for relating to Prosper at Law. What kind of capacity do you think you're going to have to start the Prosper at Law? And if someone were to sign up and come to the event, what would they expect?
We are going to, we're probably looking at having, under 100 people at our first event, maybe 50, somewhere in there. It depends on how many people show up. And we're going to orient them and tell them what to expect. We're going to tell them about the parts of a business that we're going to teach them on. And we're going to start showing them each part of that so they can start to understand what they need to work on, what they're doing wrong, what they need to do right. And the other thing too is a lot of this for me, and I think for most people, is mindset, where we can give examples, explain how this can be done, because the greatest obstacle is this doubt or disbelief that it can happen. And it's not magic. It's not a magic pill. You're not going to leave there with a private jet, that sort of thing. But you can start to change your life, and people have to believe that. And we can show them specific techniques to market this way, don't market that way, manage this way, who's doing your books, how do you do that? Are you sitting down and writing all the checks, at 11 o'clock at night? Just very basic business things that there'll be a takeaway from that, where they can evaluate and look at what they're doing. And it's like turning on a light, or somebody gets glasses where they can see for the first time. You just start to see a different reality that can be the reality that you choose.
Really sounds very exciting to me. If I were a young attorney starting up, or even an attorney that was struggling, not achieving my goals, and so sounds very exciting. I know that for us, we joined a similar coaching coaching group, and it's been meteoric for us. And in less than 3 years, we 5x'd our growth by getting best practices and a lot of the stuff you're talking about. So it definitely works. Greg, what is the best way for someone to contact you, to learn about Prosper at Law, and to sign up for the upcoming event?
I think the best way is to go to our website, prosperatlaw.com, and then it'll show you how to do that, where to go, and how to contact us. We're very accessible. It's not going to be hard to reach us. They just do the search, prosperatlaw.com, and voila, we'll be sitting in front of them. They'll see all the options and all the programs and events and timings and that sort of thing.
Great. So it's really easy. So you go to www.prosperatlaw.com and you are all set. Well, Greg, it's been great to have you here today as a guest. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And until next time, this is Josh Konigsberg, Behind the Bench Podcast. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to another fabulous episode of Behind the Bench. I hope you take action on some insight and tips you learned today. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share.